It is Monday. It is our final week of the Sandhill Sling Sew Along. I gotta make sure I click this so I can see the live chat once everybody joins us. This is it. And I was super excited. Someone came in this week with they decided to just dive right in, and they came in with their completed bag, and it looked so good, and I'm so excited to see everybody's completed bags after this week. I've loved doing this sew alongs, and I hope you folks have too. It's been really fantastic. Michelle informs me that more hardware is on the way. So if you're thinking you want to make gifts for people, or if the ones you've made are gifts and you want to make one for yourself, we should have hardware in store soon. So your homework last week was to finish sewing the exterior together. So I did mine. Look at my alligators right in the center. I think I sewed this on wrong the first week. You want the buckle to be facing out. So I unpicked that and re-sewed that on. And there's not much left to do at this point. There are two things left to do. So we've got to baste the seam allowances together from the lining and the exterior. And then we have to not baste. We're sewing the lining, the seam allowances together from the exterior, and then we have to sew the interior to the exterior, and we'll talk about that in a second. You can also, I did mine already, trim your seam allowances. I love my alligators too. Thank you. I'm so happy with these alligators. So you can trim your seam allowances. You want to start just below the curve of the top of the lining. I did mine already. I just used pinking shears and went all the way around. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put this down so you can be connecting. There we go. The exterior should be right side out. The interior, the lining, is towards the back. And what we're doing here is we're going to sew this seam allowance to this seam allowance. This is the part where my sample in the store kind of mucked up, and you can turn it out like this. You only need to sew, I think what I did wrong was I tried to sew down too low. You only need to sew just around this curve. So I'm going to make sure this is like sort of nicely lined up here. Because this should be in line with this. And that will allow me to go like so and like so. And then I'm going to use my Wonder Clips. And you're just going to sew along that line where you sewed the gusset to the lining. That's where you're going to sew this all together. Yeah, see, I think something pulls in here and it's not quite right. So I'm going to do that. I think I need to do that. Yeah, that looks better to me. I think because the seam allowance is not perfectly straight in some of these situations. It's not perfectly half an inch, so it tends to pull a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to flip this. This is not lying flat. There. Yeah, that can move over a little bit more. That way, I think. There we go. Yeah, if any of your seam allowance, if any of the fabric in the seam allowance doesn't want to lie flat, you can clip your curve. So you and following already there. Make sure the rest of your bag is out of the way. You definitely don't want to like sew the zipper to itself. And I suggest go slowly. This part of the, you're sewing through like a good 6 to 8 layers if you include the interfacing at this point. Go slowly. If your machine is not liking what you're doing. So this is making sure that the lining is secure, and the next step is making sure that it's gonna look nice. Okay. And not get in the way of the zipper when we close it. And you're gonna watch me with the next step. What you really should do and what is going to give you the best and the nicest finish is if you hand baste your lining to your zipper. This is definitely the trickiest of parts. I'm going to turn my iron on because I'm going to need my iron in a second. I think I probably should have sewn a little lower, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to trim all these tails out of the way. So many like random pieces of fabric. Okay, so you can see, so what we've done is sewed these pieces together. Now what we have to do is take that gusset, the top gusset that we folded over, and we're going to be sewing that to the zipper. So it's going to lie like that. And this is the part where if you want this to lie really nice and flat and straight, you should absolutely 100% hand baste this. I hate hand sewing. I'm not going to do it. It is not for me. I am going to use, you can glue baste. I'm going to use fusible stuff because I'm going to have to try to get my iron in here, and we're going to see how doable that is. And this was the part where, if you see here, this should lie flat here, and it did not for me on the one in the store. So it was pulled to a side, one side. And I think, am I even going to do it? I'm even doubting I'm going to fuse this right now. I was going to attempt it, but I'm looking at this and thinking like maybe I just go. let's see, as I pin it into place with the Wonder Clips, if it's going to lie flat. And you don't machine baste it first. That is also an option. There is nothing that says that you can't do that. And you can use this line of stitching on the zipper sort of as your guide as to where you can line up the lining. And I think, again, what I really tried to do is get right close to this zipper to sew. And I think you don't need to do that. I think that's what ends up making it go off. And I would say if you're contemplating giving this as a gift to someone, you know, maybe you take the extra time, you do the hand basting. But for me, this is just going to be for me. So I might trim that down. There's a lot of bulk in this one corner. Or maybe not. I don't know. I am the laziest sewist. Like, if there's a shortcut, I'm doing it. I just want the finish thing. Yeah, you can see this is again not quite as it should be. This should be sitting here. That means this should be like here. I think it's because my seam allowance is not perfectly straight, perfectly ½ inch through the corners. So this is the very exhilarating moment where Katie pins everything. Sorry. Yeah, this is sitting better now. I'm just gonna go for it. I am just gonna go for it. We're not gonna worry with the problem with. Couldn't believe how good the denim jean needle handled all the layers. Yeah, you can totally use a denim jean needle. I've just got a universal in there right now. My machine is a monster, and totally rocks all the layers all the time. So the nice thing about just pinning like this is I'm going back and adjusting so that it's spread evenly. Okay. We're going to give this a go. I'm going to turn my iron off. I do not need my iron at this point. I am going to sew from the wrong side, which is not correct. Like, you really should, if you're top stitching, the top of your thing should be on the outside. But I find I need to be able to see what I'm doing, and no one is ever close enough to what I'm sewing or close enough to what I'm sewn to see that I have things wrong. So for me, this is again, it's good enough, and it means that I'm not making a mistake. I want to be able to see that the lining is sitting up flush against that zipper, and that's why I'm going to sew it like this. I'm probably not going to get this as tight as I want it. I'm going to move my needle over and use my foot as the guide. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay. So yeah, I've moved my needle all the way to the right, so I can use my foot as the guide along the edge. And get it as close to that zipper as possible. Yeah, this is doing that thing again. It's shifting. That's okay. And I have lengthened my stitch as well. So you can see I've only gotten to about there. I'm not all the way down. And you know what? That's honestly, it's sitting better than the last one I did because of that. So actually that's quite good. So I'm going to do the same thing. Same thing here. Let's see if I can just make sure that this is like so and like so. And like so. Yeah, by allowing that lining, by not sewing it so close to the zipper, you sort of allow the lining to like float a little bit, and it gives it a little bit of give and means it sits a little bit nicer inside the bag. And that's why you sew the seam allowances together, because it's secure. This is decorative's not the right word. This is finishing at this point. It's secure too, but we have a staff meeting. It's actually happening right now. I have to run after I'm done this video to the staff meeting. But I'm so excited. I'm going to bring this bag and show it off because it is phenomenal. Yeah, so, ooh, that back stitch didn't go too well. That's okay. Oh, this totally, okay. So if you've seen the bag that I did in the store, the lining was like entirely over to one side like this. And this is sitting significantly better. Take a look. Now that I've done it, look at that. Look at that. And there it is. And that's it. It's that last part is honestly like the tricky. I'm going to trim these threads, is the trickiest of the parts. But it is not undoable or impossible. I would say definitely if you're feeling like trepidatious about sewing the lining in, baste it by hand or get some Wonder Tape and baste it. And with the Wonder Tape, it's repositionable. I'm so glad you I'm glad you were holding your breath. So was I. Yeah, look at it. It's really I don't know if it's coming through as well as possible, but it's really nice, and it's pulled a little bit there. There's a bit of bulk. I would suggest you could definitely trim down your seam allowance once you've sewn your lining to your exterior, because there's a little bit of bulk in the corners. But once I get this full, like, it's good to go. So that is that. We'll have this video up on YouTube for rewatch by tomorrow morning. I gotta go run and be part of staff meeting now, but and we're moving furniture around, so you should definitely come into the store and see what we're doing for tomorrow. Yeah, that's it. Our next sew along is not a sew along, it is a knit along, and Emily and Caitlin are going to be doing it, and I'm super excited to join it from the other side of the screen. As always, you can watch our previous knit alongs or previous sew alongs, and if anybody has any requests, write them in the comments. Let us know what you'd like to do, what you'd like us to do. We're already starting. It's crazy that we're already starting to plan for 2023, but that's the way the world goes. So let us know. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you use the hashtag Fabricationer when sharing your bags, because I would love to see everybody's bags. Have a great night.